Canada has 1/14 of the world's land,
1/10 of its forest,
1/5 of its wilderness,
1/7 of its accessible fresh water.
Canada can be divided into two parts, one part where we live and one part where we don't. Light areas are those sparsely populated.
80% of the Canadian population
Live on less than 1% of the Canadian landmass.
One of the reasons a great deal of Canada is so empty is this stuff: ice. Though things have been worse, over 1.5 million years ago, glaciers covered 97% of Canada, and the spot where we later built Toronto was covered by ice 2 kilometers thick. Even when the ice finally receded some 10,000 years ago, it left us a country with the dubious claim of being the coldest in the world. At least it was until the collapse of the USSR, when Russia lost some of its warmer bits. Now, Russia outfreezes Canada by an average of almost -1 degree Celsius. Early European explorers had thought that if they crossed the Atlantic, they'd find China on the other side. Instead, they found Canada. It was a grave disappointment. A huge landmass blocking their way to the more interesting countries of the East. So for several hundred years, they concentrated on trying to find a route around it, via the Arctic Ocean. Even today, this route is impassable by ship, except for a few weeks at the height of summer, and only then by icebreaker. But for centuries, sailors were obsessed with what became known as the search for the Northwest Passage. The most famous attempt was made by Sir John Franklin in 1845. No one knows to this day exactly what happened. His 2 ships were lost without trace, complete with a cargo of fine bone china, crystal wine glasses, solid silver service, and a barrel organ, but no Arctic clothing.
Average daily winter temperature in the Canadian Arctic, -31 degrees Celsius.
Few Europeans ever took a liking for this desolate place. The opinion of the 19th century explorer John Ross is typical. Amid all its brilliancy, this land has ever been and ever will be a dull, dreary, heart-sinking, monotonous waste. While the Europeans were doing their utmost to sail around Canada, they paid little heed to those people who called the Arctic home. Today, Canadian Inuit number around 40,000, and roughly half live in the newly formed territory of Nunavut, which takes up approximately 1/5 of Canada's landmass. Inuit families still rely on hunting and fishing for most of their food, a traditional way of life, if not quite beyond the long arm of Disney merchandising. Long before Mr. Birdseye came up with his frozen food products, long before refrigerators could be found in southern kitchens, Inuit had their ice houses. This one is carved into the permafrost at a depth of over 20 meters.
Inuit have 41 words for snow and ice.
Aput,
Snow,
Mauyak,
soft snow,
Aumanaktuk,
very soft snow,
Akillukak,
soft new snow,
Mingullak,
soft drifted snow,
Siku,
ice.
Sikulea,
New ice.
Kinu,
Human history in the Canadian Arctic spans only 4,000 years. This is the skeleton of a dwelling built by the Thule people who came here a mere 1,000 years ago. Their culture died out before the first Europeans arrived. Present-day Inuit are their direct descendants.
If you have any questions,
To survive in a landscape as unforgiving as the Arctic, you have to take advantage of any tool that will give you an edge. Inuit readily adopted the rifle, then later the snowmobile, and now the computer, giving these students 500 kilometers above the Arctic Circle access to a world of information at the click of a mouse. Snow and ice cannot solely be blamed for Canada's sparse population. Even below the tree line, people are thin on the ground. While only 1% of the country has been developed for urban and industrial use, vast areas of Canada remain in their natural state. It was in this wilderness that Europeans finally found something in Canada to catch their interest: the beaver. Beaver hats were all the rage in the capital cities of 17th century Europe, and the Canadian animal was thought to produce the very best kind of fur. The pelt of one adult beaver could be traded for a brass kettle or a gallon of brandy. The beaver has been disparaged as a rat with good PR, but so much did we love the furry creature that we made it Canada's national emblem, while continuing to hunt it to near extinction. Fortunately, the whims of fashion being what they are, the beaver became, well, old hat. Silken toppers came to be considered far more stylish, and our national emblem was granted a reprieve. Parts of Canada are not only devoid of human habitation, but have a landscape so barren and inhospitable that it's hard to find animal life of any kind. Such are the Badlands of Alberta. These are called the Hoodoo Rocks, gigantic, eerie shapes carved by thousands of years of wind and rain. Millions of years ago, this land looked quite different. It was a subtropical terrain with seas of warm water and lush jungle vegetation, home to some of the largest land animals the Earth has ever seen. dinosaurs ruled the Earth for about 140 million years, and might still be doing so if it hadn't been for a small accident 65 million years ago, or so the theory goes. The mighty Tyrannosaurus rex, once measuring 15 meters tip to tail and weighing in at 4 tons, has been reduced to this: bone fragments. And the dinosaurs have been replaced by these creatures, us. We're not usually to be found groveling around on our hands and knees in the dirt. We have more important things to do, like rushing around in these small metal containers, of which there were, at last count in Canada, 13,486,957.
Total length of highways in Canada, 1,021,000 kilometers.
Total kilometers driven by Canadians per year, 228.6 billion.
Average time Canadians take commuting per day, 48 minutes.
Cost of time lost in traffic jams per year, $4.1 billion.
Average amount of pollutants pumped out per car per year, 4 tons.
Amount of rubber Canadian cars emit into atmosphere by tire wear each year, 36,650 tons.
Number of cars Canadians crash per year, 830,000.
Number of words Canadians have for this type of transportation, 27.
Car, Jeep, automobile, convertible, jalopy, lemon, clunker, beater,